Hi. Because three-handers are not documented in the book, which is a bit of an oversight, I thought a recap of our formulas and strategies for three-handers would be sensible, seeing we're going to do a few of them this term. So when it comes to choosing a conversation goal, I think it's still important to do issues for the two other people in the scene. So you've got three issues for one person and three issues for the other. It doesn't matter whether you're a pair of instigators or a pair of responders who are pushing the same conversation goal. If you've primed yourself with an understanding of the behaviour of your partner in that conversation, then there will be a greater level of complexity because you've primed yourself with an understanding of their behaviour. If you're a two against one, then and you're the one, then having thought about issues for the two people that are opposed to you means that it might be that you can look at the way they behave independently and go, well, they're going to have a problem doing this. And my standard example is that looking at their individual behaviours, they won't listen to each other, so maybe you can battle, challenge or test to see if they're going to listen to each other. We also need to keep in mind that sometimes our issues, and this applies to a two-hander as well, that sometimes our issues will drop straight into a conversation goal. One of my issues with you is that you are biased, and therefore now I can battle for control or challenge you to see that you are biased because you don't. On the other hand, because my issue is that you're biased, I can also decide that my conversation goal is going to be a way of dealing with that, and therefore I could battle or challenge you to be fair because you're biased. But the conversation goal would be challenging you to see that you need to be fair because you don't see that. So conversation goals can go issues can go straight into a conversation goal, or we can find a converse way or an opposite way of dealing with that issue. The other thing to keep in mind is, particularly when it's you're the one against two others, that it can be more challenging to find simple issues to base a conversation goal around. And therefore Kyle Anderson's offering that what does the other person think of you, because how you want to change that is your conversation goal. The same thing can apply when it's one against two, in that you can look at those two people going, well, I think they see me as a person who operates theoretically and not practically, and therefore I can challenge them to see that I'm being logical to counter what they think of me. So, and that feels quite comfortable to me, because we do look at groups of people and go, oh, their attitude is. So Kyle's offer is really handy for looking at what the other people or the other person thinks of you. How you want to change that is your conversation goal. When choosing a form, it's exactly the same as a two-hander. The instigator, or instigators, if there are two of them, determines the form, and the responder either does the same thing back, uses the same form back, or resists, avoids and denies. But the form is still going to be the best way of dealing with the issue. That's how you determine which form you're going to choose of those options. It's the best way of dealing with the issue. And what we've always done, although there could be some debate about this, but what makes sense to me is that if you're part of the two instigators or responders, then you should use the same form, although you might have different issues with the person that you're having the conversation with. If you're in a team, if there are two of you working together, it seems to me going to be more coherent if you both have the same forms. But I'm happy to debate or concede that there might be times when the nature of the character means they're going to be different. This is an example of the fact that with three-handers we don't do them very often, so we don't have extensive testing of our theories. If it has been decided that this is in fact a one against one with the third person being outside the conversation, then it's important to decide whether, and if you're that character, it's important for you to decide whether you're the mediator, the provocateur, or the chorus in the Greek sense, commenting on what's going on. But it's also important that you give yourself a conversation goal. And it's occurred to me, which I don't think we've talked about before, that you could decide that your conversation goal is a one against one. It's only one person that you're trying to influence with your role in this scene, or it could be you against two. So either way, when you know you're outside the conversation, the important understanding that you've reached is that you're not the main story. That the main story is between the two, the one against one, and therefore whatever you're doing, however far you push your conversation purpose, you shouldn't upstage that one. Because if you do, it'll change the story. If it's necessary for you to do that, then of course you've got to reassess your conversation structure, because the first one that had you outside it has now very firmly got you in it. You need a different understanding of what the conversation is doing and what form the three of you are going to use to deliver that story. Need, of course, is different because this is the only circumstance, the only rehearsal room rule that is not the same as life. So in life, our unconscious would manage different needs for however many people there are in the group and unconsciously prioritise them. It's too complicated for us to manage. So what we do is we pick the most important person in the scene, our most important person, and put one need in place for them. That's going to bring enough complexity to our listening to do the job perfectly satisfactorily. The deal with that is to remember, because there are now options in a three-hander, that your most important person is not necessarily the one you're having the most dialogue with. It's going to be your most important relationship. So, that's all that's kicking around in my head at the moment. If there's anything to debate, please bring them up on Monday. Looking forward to seeing you then. Cheers.